What's going on, everybody? Get in here. We've got so much to talk about today. I was really excited to make this video today because it's a subject that came into my life over the past few years, and I just find it fascinating. The connection between creativity and sexuality. Welcome. This channel is about art and creativity. Here we have artful conversations. We explore our creative process. We encourage one another. We offer resources, support, and really the goal is simple: to create and cultivate the creative community that we want to see in the world online. That's really the intention behind this channel. I'm just another artist making art, obsessing over it constantly because honestly, it's just my favorite thing. I've found so much healing in my own process and I'm just obsessed with talking about it. It gets quite annoying, I'm sure. Ask my friends and family. But if this sounds like you and you're like me, you're in the right place. And today we're diving into a fascinating and complex topic: the connection between creativity and sexuality. These two forces are deeply intertwined, and when we understand how they're connected, we can unlock some incredible insights about ourselves as creators. But before we get started, I just want to set an intention. I'm treating this subject matter with care and respect. While this video is not overly gratuitous in any way, it does deal with adult themes, so I want to encourage you to be an adult if you plan to engage with this content any further. Viewer discretion is advised. Let's start by laying the groundwork. Creativity and sexuality both stem from the same source of energy. In psychology, this is often referred to as the libido, but don't get too stuck on that word. It's not always just about sexual energy. Carl Jung, who was one of Freud's contemporaries, described the libido as the universal life force and its drive to create and connect and to express something greater than ourselves. Frida Kahlo, her painting, The Broken Column, is a striking exploration of her physical pain from her spinal injury. But it's also undeniably sensual. Her body is exposed, it's vulnerable, and it's powerful. Frida's work is a perfect example of how passion and pain and desire can fuel creativity. Anna Nin, the writer famous for her erotic diaries, I can never say her name right, once said, "Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage." Nin's courage to embrace her own desires, her own shadow self, allowed her to access parts of herself that others might shy away from. And that willingness to explore those taboo subjects, that didn't just make her a provocative writer, it made her a boundary-breaking creative force. David Bowie, massive personal inspiration. He obliterated the boundaries. He obliterated expectations and boundaries. It was a persona, it was a character, but it wasn't just a character, it was a creative exploration of his own identity. And Bowie's own fluidity and his sexuality and his gender wasn't just personal, it was like integral to his creativity and his whole entire process. And he showed us that when he embraced every single part of who he is, and his art it became just limitless. That's what happens. Part 2, the emotional connection. Crying and laughter, the emotional release. Okay, here's something that blew my mind when I first learned it. Crying and laughter are similar emotions because they both leave us vulnerable, and vulnerability is where creativity thrives. Brené Brown, who studies vulnerability and courage, says that vulnerability is the birthplace of creativity and innovation and change, and she's absolutely right. Some of the best art comes from moments of deep emotional intensity where, whether it's joy, sadness, or even like desire, passion, I've experienced this in my own creative life. Some of my best ideas have come right after I've laughed so hard I couldn't even breathe, or cried so hard I couldn't stand. It's like these emotions, they take us out of our own way. They kind of clear the pathway for creativity to just kind of flow if you allow the emotions to become like the paint that you paint the canvas with. On a scientific level, creativity and sexuality are connected in the brain. Both involve the release of dopamine and feel good chemically. Whether you're in the middle of a creative flow state or in the middle of a moment of intimacy, your brain's sort of lit up in the same way. Flow state is essentially when you're so immersed in what you're doing that you completely lose track of time. Does that sound familiar? This is like the same presence and immersion that you feel when you kind of give over in intimacy. It's that kind of connection. It's being fully present, fully alive, and fully realized, embodied, fully you. Our culture has spent centuries repressing sexuality, and especially in women and marginalized groups, and that repression doesn't just stifle sexual expression, it stifles creativity. And I think that's why so many great artists became trailblazers. It's because they refused to let society dictate what they could and couldn't express. And I don't know about you, but I really relate to that. I want to talk about this book, Existential Kink, Carolyn Elliott's book. It's all about embracing the parts of yourself you've been taught to repress. She argues that when you stop judging yourself and start loving even the messy, uncomfortable parts of who you are, you unlock a whole new level of creativity and satisfaction. And for me, this book, it was like a light bulb moment in a lot of ways. And it reminded me that there's nothing more creative than fully embracing who you are. It's a beautiful thing. And my friend Scout preaches this book. And so if you're watching, Scout, I love you. Thank you for this rec. I'll link it in the description for anyone else who wants it. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the connection between creativity and sexuality? Have you ever read Existential Kink? Let me know in the comments. If you're into artful conversations like this, you're in the right place. Stick around, browse around. I've got more cool videos on the way. Got more cool videos on the channel. Niche video essays on creative topics and blogs about my own career, if anyone gives a shit. And it is my dream to just talk about art all day long. So while I cringe to say it, do you know what I'm going to say? Do you know what I'm going to say? Share this artful message even further across the internet. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with, people who don't even understand your art. Maybe maybe not this video, but maybe another one on the page or one coming up. Each time I make a video, I learn to continue to let myself be more and more seen, and, expressing myself in this way has been such an amazing outlet. And I just appreciate you for sticking with the video for this long. And I hope you stick around for another video coming up soon.